Hi everybody, this is Larry up in Brandon, Minnesota. You know, for years, I've always loved making jams and jellies. Well, mostly jams. I just love jams. And I love to give them away to my friends and relatives and everyone. But the thing is, if you're like me, you never see the jars again. And, they're not cheap anymore. So I've been thinking, I'd love to come up with something really neat this holiday. With the holiday season's coming up and stuff, and I would like to be able to give different jams and jellies. I do a lot of specialty type ones, raspberry rhubarb or strawberry rhubarb or Concord, which is a lot of work because you got to take the skins off and everything. And it's not something they can readily get, and it's a great gift to give away. And I was thinking about all these baby food jars. I walk by them at work, I see them, and I'm thinking, why can't you reuse them? And I got looking at them and started checking them out. Look, here's one of the things that I discovered. If you look at the lid on a baby food jar, you'll see that there's a lot of, when they put the sealing thing right in the lid, there's lots of that for sealing it. However, on the edge, where you screw it down, it really doesn't even really screw down. There's just tiny little tabs all the way around the rim that hold it in place. Well, I did some experiment in the last couple of days, taking water, boiling water, putting them in, seal them. What happens is the lid wants to lift off. However, if you hold it down, it'll seal. So it isn't that it won't seal. The thing is that it's that tiny little rim around on the cap itself that doesn't want to hold it in place. Well, I've played around and come up with a great solution for you. Start saving those baby food jars because you're going to have some fun. If you want to give away some nice gifts this year and you want to put some jams and stuff and give away the jars and you don't care if you see them again, then follow along with me, okay? Here's what we're going to do. There's a couple little tricks and stuff in here, but I'm going to walk you right through it. Okay, first of all, let's get some jars and let's wash them up. Put them in the hottest water you got, soapy water in the sink, and let them just soak. And leave them in there for about a half hour and come back, and the labels will come right off. However, there's a little glue patch when they glue these on that's pretty tough. But I found out what really works good. If you just take a butter knife and take the edge of the butter knife and scrape that'll come right off. And then I take a little scratch pad, I have a little fabric type scratch pad, and then I can get the rest of them. Then the jar is totally clean. Then I lay them all out, let them all dry and stuff like that, and now they're all ready to go. Well, I'm going to do some raspberry rhubarb jam I want to put in these, okay? So I started off, I use Sure Gel, and I'll post the recipe for this underneath the video here. You can click on it. And it calls for 5 cups of prepared fruit. And what I did is I went half and half. I went 2.5 cups of rhubarb, 2.5 cups of raspberries. And here I got it in the, I'm heating it up here. Raspberries, I had those frozen, and the rhubarb I had frozen. I took them out, threw them in my little ninja chopper, chopped them up a little bit, put them in there. And here I put in the Sure Gel. You put that in. And what the recipe calls for is that you bring this to a boil, and once it comes to a boil that you can't stir down, a rolling boil, then you add in your sugar, okay? The recipe, like I said, is in the thing. And then it's ready to put into your jars, okay? Now your jars are all stirred. What I do is I take all my jars, because you want everything hot. We are not going to open kettle method do these. And you say, why? Well, about a couple years ago, I had a family reunion. I got taught my dad, a few months before he passed away, and my aunt were talking about canning, and they were making jellies and jams. And she said, I never opened kettle method. And I said, what? She says, well, I've been doing it 50 years. I just have my jars really hot. My jelly comes out. I pour it in or cap it, and they seal on their own. And she's never done it for 50 years. And they said, as long as everything, we're not doing beef or chicken here or anything like that, folks. This is jam. I don't know about you, but when I take a jar of jelly and open it up, or jam, and start eating it, I never put it back. I don't put it in the fridge. I hate cold jam or jelly on my hot toast, you know. I mean, I've let it set out for weeks, and even when it's gotten even a little mold on it, I'll just scrape the top off and continue to eat it. It's not going to kill you. You're not going to get salmonella. You're not going to get botulism. We're talking about jam here. I wouldn't recommend this for anything else, but a seal is a seal, and if you get a seal and everything's sterilized, you're in great shape. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You got your jars all ready. What I do is I pop my jars in the oven, and I set it at, well, 170, 200. 200 would even be better. Make those jars hot so they're ready hot, because we are not going to open kettle method this. We're just going to take the jar out, and we're going to take them out one at a time and do this, okay? We're going to take it out, and we're going to pour. What I did here is, since the filler for that you usually get standard for filling your stuff is way too big, here's a thing off a little gravy shaker for shaking up your gravy mix or cornstarch and water. That had a smaller little funnel. You might get a smaller funnel for filling those baby jars. Works good. And I took it out and I dumped it, okay, and then I filled up my little jars. What you want to do when you fill these, and it's key, is leave down about a ½ inch of spacing. Here you can see just where it starts getting rounded on the edge. We've got to leave some room to create a vacuum in there. You don't want to fill them right to the top like you would other jelly and jam, because we're not going to process it that. You want to leave a little room for that vacuum. You're going to fill them up and do this, okay? What I found out is when you fill this up, they have a tendency to want to push that lid off, okay? Here's what you want to do. And I pushed them down hard. You push straight down hard on the lid and turn to your right, and that's supposed to lock it. But like I said, those little tabs, the heat and everything, will want to lift it up. This is why people previously have not done this, okay? Here's the solution. Take a little pan or something and set it on your jars. They're hot. You got the lids pushed down as hard as you can. You got to make sure the lids or the rims are all clean and everything. You washed up your, and I forgot to tell you, make sure you have your lids in some boiling hot water. I bring it up to a boil just before the jam's ready and shut it off and throw my lids in there. Let them sit in there, you know, a couple minutes. Take them out, put them on that jam or that jar, you know, you're ready to go. And then what I do is I set this on top. This holds those down so they don't want to, they almost want to piston off. They almost want to lift off these little jar lids on these baby food jars. If you hold it and just leave them, get a couple pans out. You could probably even use a cake pan and lay it out and put some weight on it over a bunch of them. After you do that, and then I noticed that I had 8 of them sealed right away. They really crack. If they don't, just you'll see this top. You can see the seal on there. If that's popped up, okay, just barely touch it with your finger. It'll pop, but wait till your jars are totally cool. I even had a couple that didn't pop down. I thought, well, maybe they didn't seal, so I put them in the fridge. I went back in a couple hours and checked them. I just barely touched the top and went pop down. They're sealed. I mean, if they're sealed, they're sealed. That is not going to pop down if there's not creating a vacuum in there. They're ready to go. And then you end up with some really killer jam. I did up, I think it was 12 of them in this batch. But you got to try it. Play around with it. The key is holding that lid down while it's cooling so it can create that vacuum. And if you got to just touch that top to make it pop down, it will seal. Believe me, if you don't have a vacuum, that little button will not stay down, okay? Try this. Just like I said, at the very least, what are you going to lose? I mean, we're talking about baby food jam jars, or little baby food jars, I mean. Put it in the fridge and eat it up. But I'll tell you what, mine all sealed when I did this, and it worked just great. So I just want to pass this along. I hope you enjoy this. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it, and hit like. And we'll see ya. This is Larry up in Brainerd, Minnesota. Ciao.